What's up, everybody? It's Big John here to bring you another advanced way I press. Some people have seen this technique before, but we're going to explain it. When you have spine ticks on your comics, a simple press won't take them out. Okay? Even when you place your boards inside the comic and you press it, you're not going to take those spine ticks out. The same with a bend or a crease that's on your comic book cover. So I have a board here. It's just a simple backing board. It's an older one that I've replaced. So if you have a bend like that, and you can see the line of distension there, and you straighten it out, and you put this in your press, and you've done your due diligence. You know, you've put your 3 boards in under the front cover, the middle, the bottom cover, and you put it in your press. That line there is not going to come out. And what you've really done is you've set the line into the book by doing the press, which means you've made it harder for the next guy to fix what you just accidentally or didn't know and screwed up. So hence, you're going to need some heat and some moisture before you press your book. So what you're going to need is basically a steamer. You just want to set this on your counter or whatever, your workspace, put it in your kitchen, put it over your sink, and you're going to basically put a board behind the cover, shiny side of course away, underneath the cover. Then you're going to mist with the steam the area of the book that has the bend. And you'll know when it's done because the comic cover on the board will actually pull away. And that way, it's sort of like a cheat. It tells you when it's had enough moisture. Then what you're going to do is you're going to set it. I use a magazine board. I set the comic with the board still in it on the magazine board, laying it flat. And then I take my non-stick sheets here and I use this. And what you do is you got to sort of remember where that line is. You want to get this up to whatever temperature you prefer. Some people like it on low temperature between 100 and 150. When it's a good line, I like to add just a little bit more heat to this. So I'll use mine anywhere from, which would be considered a little higher, between like 175 and like 200. Now I have 2 of these. This is my standard. It's got a low and a high. The lowest temperature when you put it on low is about 175. The high is at 2 1/4. I just did the Web of Spider-Man #1 that was in my previous video, where I talked about my advanced technique on how to get the lift off when you put the 3 boards in to flatten it and make sure that I get a flat book every time. I went ahead and pressed out that indentation I found and the line that was going across the top open corner. And what I did is I moistened with steam the cover. I put my non-stick sheet over the book And then you want to run this, not a lot of pressure, just run it right over that area. But do not ever stop moving this, okay? Because you could burn your book. So don't ever stop moving it. So you want to basically go about this speed and just keep moving it. Don't ever stop. And you want to use it on your damaged areas. And then you're going to take your nonstick sheet off, and you're going to basically pick up the book. I put it on a magazine board. It makes it easier to slide off my work area and pick it up. Look at it in the LED light, and you'll see if the line is gone. And if it's gone, then you're good. Then you want to let it air dry, get most of the moisture off the book. The heat will actually take most of it out anyway, so let it air dry, and then you're ready to repress your book. You put your 3 pieces in, you press it, and if you do my advanced technique, you wait the 30 minutes after you're done with their timer, pull the 3 sheets out, drop it back down, and let it go into its cold press. Okay, and when it comes out, that line that was there will be gone. Now, when you use for your spine, you're going to do the same thing. When you got spine ticks, even if they break color, you remember when a spine tick is there and it breaks color or it doesn't break color, it leaves an indentation line. Every one of them will leave an indentation line. So whether it breaks color or not, that doesn't matter. What you're going to do is the same thing. You're going to take your comic, put a board behind the cover, shiny side down. You're going to take it over to your steamer, and you're going to steam the spine all the way up. And again, the comic will rat itself out. It'll let you know exactly when it's had enough moisture. It'll pop off the board. So then you walk it over, you set it down, you get your nonstick sheet again, you put it on the top, and then you run your iron, never stopping, right on the spine. Because these tips are long enough that it'll go, I aim past the spine, and that way I get the whole spine, and I run it all the way up and down the spine with almost no pressure. You let this do all the work. Don't add any pressure. Because what's going to happen is the moisture has now softened the paper, and this creates almost a vacuum. So as you're going like this, it's going to suck out or pull out those indentations or those spine ticks. Okay? And then to make sure that you get it all the way around the spine, you want to take the needle tip here and you want to run it, holding your sheet, and run it down the side of the spine. And then when you're done with that a few times, maybe 2 or 3, then take it back up to the top of the book and run it up the spine. Then, patience, due diligence. Learn these words, live by them when you do this work. Okay, I promise you, you will go a lot further. Remove your sheet, your nonstick sheet. Pick up the book. Again, I put mine on a magazine board. It makes it easier to get it off my work area. I look at it under my LED light. I don't use fluorescent light. I use LED light. Look at it. You'll see if there's any spine ticks left. Right? If there's none, then you've done your job. Don't overdo it. Because you can always go back later and do the same thing, even after the press. Spine ticks are different than a fold line. So then you bring it out, you set your press, 165, 500 seconds, put your 3 boards in, and standardly press it. Then if you do what I do, take the 3 boards out when your timer's over, drop the hammer, let it set for 8 hours. Let it go into its cold press. Believe it or not, that's really important. I can't express that enough. to go from heat to a moderate low in temperature into a cold press over hours really helps. It really does. You have to let the ink settle from the heat, because everyone knows when you take a book off a press, what's it look like? It pops right off the cover because that ink has been reanimated. Right? Then pull your 3 boards, drop your press down, let it set for 8 hours. Then take it out when 8 hours is over and take a look at it. Look at it under LED light and move it backwards, forwards, side to side, everywhere, so you can see every bit of the book and see how it looks to you. If you see a spine tick, start all over again. Patience, due diligence, do it again. It's not going to hurt. If you're afraid over time, your pages are going to get brittle, then steam the whole book. Add moisture back into the book. Reincorporate that moisture you had already removed before your next press. So take it back in your kitchen or your work area. Re-steam the spine. Put your sheet, nonstick sheet, right back on it. Take your iron, your hand pressing iron, and go right back up the spine. Remember, we're letting the tool do its job. We're not adding pressure. We want the tool to do its job. That's why we paid for it. And then once you take it out and you got that spine tick out that might have been left over that you didn't get, repress the book. Do the same thing all over again. And do not pull it out of its cold press before 8 hours. And sometimes, not every time, like on a modern age book, but when I do silver and I do golden age especially, I put them, not when I take them out of my press after the 8 hours of the cold press, I'll put them under, I bought an acrylic sheet from Immaculate Comics, and I'll stick it under that acrylic for a week with a weight on top of it, of course. I use probably a 5-pound weight, a round one I got at Walmart for like $3, $4. And I put the 5-pound weight on it, and I can still see the book. And I'll leave it there for a week. I won't touch it. The more you leave a book in a flattened state, the better off you're going to be, especially on a cold press. Now, you don't have to add weight to it if you don't want to. If you got a good press, put it under there for about 4 or 5 days. No weight on top of it. Just the weight of the acrylic. I got the best that he had, which is a much thicker piece. The natural weight of that is enough to keep it in a flattened state, so you don't have to really crush it down. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with books that are fanned and you're having to flatten them completely and doing all that and then resetting the spine so it's properly, distributed between the back and the front. If you're doing something like that, then after the cold press, I leave it in my press after the heat, and I do those books when they're that bad at 600 seconds at 165. I'll leave it in the cold press for a week with a 5-pound weight on it. And I'll leave it in the cold press under my press, the pressure of my press, for like 12 hours. Okay? And then I'll put it underneath an acrylic sheet, and I'll leave it there for a week with a 5-pound weight on it. And believe me, it does a lot of good. It's not going to do any damage because the book's not moving. Okay, we really want to solidify that spine. We want the comic to get used to being from a fanned position to its natural position. We want it to be used to doing that, because for so long it was used to doing this. Or it had a spine roll, so it was used to being like this And now we need it to be like this. So we need the comics muscle memory, so to speak, to get used to laying in that flattened, proper position. Okay, so again, if you're going to try to remove lines, if you're going to try to remove spine ticks, you are going to need advanced weaponry. You're going to need the hand iron I showed you. You can get these off of Amazon. And you're definitely going to need a little steamer, which, by the way, you can get from Amazon as well. So you're definitely going to need those. Listen, guys, this stuff is not hard. It's really not. You just need to show patience, and you need to show due diligence. Anyone can show you how to press a book. Anyone. But if you don't take the time to learn the rules, then don't start. If you don't have patience, don't start. Because this is one thing that you can't do half-ass. Because if you press books half-ass, that's exactly the kind of book that you're going to get. And it's not going to upgrade. You might even downgrade because you've made something worse. Or worse than that, someone will have to come behind you and repair the damage that you created because you weren't patient. You didn't have the right tools. I was told a long time ago when I built model cars, and I was damn good. When I built model cars, to build an award-winning model car, you had to start with an award-winning kit. It's the same thing with pressing comic books. To get the grades that you're looking to get, you have to have the right tools. And you have to know how to use those tools in the right manner, the right way, the first time. Don't go to someone and learn how to cut corners or how to do shortcuts. That is not going to help you. Patience and due diligence. Have the right tools for the job. Learn how to use those tools in a proper, safe manner. And I promise you, the results that you'll get will be much better than the results you would have gotten if you wouldn't have done those steps. So repeat, what are the 2 words and the ways that you need to do things? You need to be patient and you need to be due diligent. And always, always be safe. Use your tools in a safe environment. Don't keep paper around your iron because that thing gets hot. Don't put your flesh directly in front of the steam. Steam actually will burn you worse than pure boiled hot water. So be very careful, be very safe, and be very, very patient. And as usual, I'm Big John, and I am out.